Obviously we've been routing, Howard has been routing using bearing cutters and all of the like, and we have a binding channel and our basic layout. One of the good things is that you now can't see where that veneer was from the sides, so from the top it doesn't look like that cavity's been repaired, and obviously it has. But we're going to put some binding on. I was toying with the idea of using some nice wood and veneers and all of that, but I remembered that for the first couple of guitars you build, you probably won't want to be playing around with wood veneer binding strips. So we're going to go with plastic, available from all good luthiers suppliers like All Parts and WD Music, etc., and in various widths. So we've gone obviously black, white, black, and thick, 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 thin, thin, thinner, and finished. We leave a slight ledge on the edge here to be sanded away, and basically with this acrylic solvent cement, this is what IPS Weld on number 16, you want to put a layer on, sort of up till about there, and cover it in as much as you can, a strip along each, just one side of each piece. You don't need it on, for example, that face and that face, you just need it on that face, etc. And then we're going to be doing something incredibly high-tech and using masking tape. Now this stuff glues straight to your fingers and it's very sticky and a bit messy, but it's got a relatively long open time, and I don't think Howard's ever done any binding. He's shaking his head no. And well, let's see how he does. This is going to be either amazing or amusing, we'll have to see. The trick is to start with as much masking tape prepared and ready for you as you can. Trust me, I've run out of strips midway through a job and it's most annoying. Alright, now I realise that there's no point in chucking Howard in at the deep end without at least showing off a little bit. This stuff always dribbles, doesn't it? So I'm going to do a little bit of demonstrating first, and I always tend to start at the hardest bit, because if you screw up here at the beginning you can always just chop this a little bit shorter and start again. If you screw up there having just done all of the rest, well, I would be a little bit annoyed. So do short lengths, especially, I think those glues are getting a bit old. You do short lengths at the beginning especially, and then it's just a case of fan out one side, one side. This is going to be lovely and sticky and gooey and messy. Aren't all the best games? Just that. So there that is. Smelly as well. Now this is a curve and a half, so I'll ask Howard to clamp that in. Just move it there you go. Okay, don't forget, and it's easy to forget this, a bit more pressure set.
Where it's sliding off, I'm just trying to swing it around a little bit. There we go.
It's easy to forget while you're doing all of this that you have got also to think about the downwards pressure. Whoa. Come on, masking tape. From the side you don't want to see a big old gap. So now you can afford to speed up a little bit. And or at least glue more a longer length. That's what I meant to say. Here's a trick: if you've got lots of pieces to glue, the glue starts curing once you put them together. If you hold them spread out apart a little bit while you're going, it doesn't start to cure quite so quickly. So move along, push in and down to avoid that gap there. And down. That thin piece also tried to jump over the edge of the wood.
Losing clamp.
Oh, I am losing my clamp.
Got it?
Go for it. Oh, I'm losing my glue. I'm losing my mind.
Ah, that's better. Ooh.
Okay, you don't want to crack things.
Oh, it's the dowel catching on the table, on the bench.
Fingers crossed. And there we go. A fiddly, awful place. Crack on, sir. Don't cry.
I'll try not to.
So you should be able to do 8 or 10 inches in one shot. I've used super glue for this in the past and nope. I've used super glue and it's not fun. Really, really not. With the addition of glue, the thin strip at places was actually overhanging the thin lip that we left. Use a nice polished hammer and ever so gently beat the out of it. You don't have to just use masking tape. We've used a couple of clamps and we even used a hammer. I suspect, well, here you can see the plastic has actually melted quite a bit in the binding, and that's expected with this solvent. It sort of homogenizes the bands, but I've never seen it quite so bad, so what I suspect has happened is how it's used a little bit too much glue. But the end result is going to be a rather pretty guitar, I suspect.
While the binding is curing, I am going to do a little bit of sanding. This next smoothed down. We are not going to be branding this as a crimson, as it is just an experiment. So we're not going to be doing any inlay work on the headstock. It's going to stay as is. I need to, where I had this on the drum sander, I need to take those edges down. I just need to do a fine sand on the rest of the neck. So I'm going to get that done. And by then the binding should be cured and we can get on with trimming and sanding the binding into place and finish the shape of the body. So. The moment of truth.
let's take the clamps off and see how this binding looks. A bit melty. That should come away as you scrape it through. Looking good from the side. Bearing in mind that this is still a bit damp, I've just sharpened this scraper. And it's just holding it at an angle and curved. It's cutting the binding away and revealing a not too bad effect. This is where we will find if any pieces haven't glued down, and we'll obviously pack more glue in and see what happens. For now, however, just feeling that it's still a bit damp. Howard has ladled on the glue, understandably, I would too. And we're going to leave this to cure overnight before we get to the final finishing.